Welcome to DivorceMateCloud. Let's learn how to use DMCloud to create calculations. To begin, click on the Matters button and either create a new matter or select a matter from your existing list. Click on the orange New Calculation button in the center of your screen to launch your Tools software. This will take you to a one-page printout summarizing all the relevant information regarding child support under the Child Support Guidelines, spousal support under the Spousal Support Advisory Guidelines, and net disposable income figures for the parties. For BC and Ontario users who may have previously filled in the matter details for the creation of court forms, the applicable details will already be imported into the calculation. If the matter details were not already provided, or for any other provinces, simply click on the various blue links to access the input fields. For example, click here to include or edit the party's information, including the party's name, birth date, gender, province, and health status to determine if they are eligible for the disability tax credit. Note that it is imperative that the first party listed in the calculation be the payor of spousal support, if spousal support is an issue. Click OK to exit the link. Similarly, verify the information for the second party, the recipient of spousal support, if applicable. Click on this next blue link to include the date of marriage, or if the parties lived together before marriage or lived in a common law relationship, include the date of cohabitation. Click here to input the date of separation. Note that for any dates you may input, you may include them directly or use the handy calendar feature. To add children to your calculation, simply click on the plus sign and complete the information. Or, to change the children's information once already input or imported, click directly on the child's name. For the children, you must include their names, birth dates, with whom they are residing primarily, whether that be the payor, the recipient, in shared residency, or it does not apply. You must also indicate whether the table amount of child support will be payable, yes, no, or only partially for as many months as you then specify. Next, you must indicate who will be claiming the child for residual tax items, such as low-income tax reductions and sales tax credits in certain provinces, etc. Note that this does not refer to the Canada Child Benefits nor to the child's share of the GST/HST credits, which will be automatically allocated by the software based on the residency of the child specified above. Finally, indicate the child's health status and whether or not they will be entitled to additional disability benefits as part of their Canada Child Benefits. Once all of the general information has been input, it is time to begin entering financial information for the parties. To do so, click on the plus sign beside the applicable party's name. Let's begin with Harry, the payor. A window will pop up with a number of category headings listed, which can be expanded by a single click to expose various input fields. The common category at the top is a collection of the most frequently used items from all of the different categories below. At the very top is the search feature. To enter an item, click on the item you want, and then move to the right-hand side to include the amount of this item. As well, please note the extensive and updated help in the area below the input field. Let's input employment income for Harry of $100,000. Do not include dollar signs or commas. Once you have entered the amount, you may optionally give it a description. When you are done, click OK, and that item will now appear momentarily highlighted in yellow in the calculation input area under that party's name. Now let's input union dues for Harry of $1,000. Click on the plus sign beside Harry's name and use the search feature to find the item by typing the first few letters. Notice how the list gets filtered. Click on Union Dues, go to the amount input box on the right and type 1,000 and click OK. Again, the entry will appear under the party's name in the calculation input area, temporarily highlighted in yellow. Now let's input some self-employment income for the recipient, Sally, say $20,000. Click on the blue plus sign beside Sally's name, find self-employment income in the list, or use the search feature, and type in 20,000 in the input box. Click OK. Section 7, or special expenses for the children, are entered in the area under the children by clicking on the blue plus sign opposite the special expenses heading. Let's assume Sally has $10,000 in childcare expenses. Find the applicable special expense from the drop-down list and select the child from the drop-down list to whom the expense relates. In this case, there is only one child. Then input the amount of the expense opposite the name of the party initially paying that expense using the paid column. In our example, Sally has paid $10,000 of childcare. In the claimed column, include the amount of childcare eligible for any tax deduction or tax credit associated with that special expense. This will allow the software to determine the net cost of that special expense before it gets apportioned. This is required by the Child Support Guidelines. The help on the right will assist in determining the amounts and limits for the tax deductions and credits. For example, the maximum deduction for a child under the age of 7 is $8,000. Accordingly, enter $8,000 in the claimed column. Click OK, and the amount will be momentarily highlighted in yellow. Once all financial information has been input for the calculation, it is time to review the results. The top section on the right will calculate each party's annual guidelines income, as well as the basic table amount of child support according to the guidelines. Any proportionate sharing of special expenses is found in the support scenarios below. This next section underneath will calculate the range of spousal support, both the amount and the duration, according to the applicable formula under the Spousal Support Advisory Guidelines. In the support scenarios at the bottom of the printout, each point in the SAG amount range will be analyzed and essentially put into context by looking at the impact of the support on the parties' net disposable incomes. In other words, if we focus on the midpoint of the SAG range, the first line shows the parties' gross incomes on a monthly basis. This can be changed to an annual basis if you prefer by clicking on the blue link. From this gross income, the parties' taxes and deductions are subtracted. We know this is a subtraction or negative number because of the brackets surrounding the figures. The next line shows the benefits and credits that get added to the parties' incomes. The next line shows the gross amount of the special expenses that has been initially paid out by one of the parties. Any cash flow adjustments in the calculation, in this case union dues, will be reflected on this next line. The final three lines show the spousal support that is either paid or received, the table amount of child support that is either paid or received, and finally, the Section 7 contribution payment that must be paid and correspondingly received in order to ensure that the special expenses have been shared proportionately between the parties according to their incomes. This leaves each party and their household with the following net disposable incomes, or cash in hand from which they must now pay all food, clothing, housing, transportation, and entertainment expenses, and so on. The graph gives a visual depiction of this net disposable income, and the actual percentage of NDI is reflected underneath. In addition, the calculation shows the apportioning percentage of the special expenses as input in the calculation, and the after-tax cost or benefit of the spousal support payment. By clicking on the blue Show Calculation Details link at the bottom, all of the supporting numbers for the figures on the front page of the printout will be included. In the toolbar at the top of the calculation, you will find standard icons for saving, saving as, printing, and converting a calculation to a PDF. You may also set the magnification for your screen and provide us with direct feedback while in a calculation. The Options icon in the toolbar accesses all of the numerous options available for your calculation, grouped according to the tabs on the left. As you can see, there are general options, as well as options impacting child support, spousal support under the SAG, and the support scenarios. There are also options pertaining to undue hardship, life insurance and lump sum spousal support calculations, and restructuring spousal support. Finally, there is an option to include a child support summary as required in Alberta. Once you have completed your calculation, save and exit the calculation, and it will now be reflected in your client's work at the bottom of the matter. This now completes our Getting Started session for DM Tools Cloud. Consider enrolling in one of our training sessions or upcoming webinars for further information on all of Tools' amazing features and capabilities.